Heyo, it's OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault. How are you guys doing tonight, tomorrow, today, this morning, whenever you're watching this? I'm doing a review right now of some books that I think are kind of under the radar and in this part of the country. I have a feeling in Europe they're really popular, but they embody everything we want in a comic book. I say it all the time. First of all, we want comic books to be fun. We want to have fun when we read them. It's an adventure. It's very adventurous. It's very well written, beautifully illustrated, solid story, very imaginative. It is one of the most imaginative and interesting books I've read in a long time. It is known as Castle in the Stars. This is the first book, Space Race of 1869, and the premise is, what if man had journeyed into space in 1869, not 1969? In search of the mysterious element known as aether. Let me show you some art while I'm doing this because the art is amazing. Claire Dulac flew her hot air balloon toward the edge of our stratosphere and never returned. Her husband, genius engineer Archibald Dulac, is certain that she is forever lost. Her son, Seraphim, still holds out hope. Now, this book is by Alain Ali. This is how it is, and it's French, so I'm assuming that like half of it is not pronounced. So Alain Ali, who not only writes it, he illustrates it beautifully. Let's see. 1 year after her disappearance, Seraph and his father receive a tantalizing clue, a letter from an unknown sender who claims to have Claire's lost logbook. The letter summons them to a Bavarian castle where an ambitious young king dreams of flying the skies in a ship powered by aether. But within the castle walls, danger lurks. There are those who would stop at nothing to conquer the stars. So let's take a look at some of this art some more. Let's see, I can't see whether or not you can see it. Okay, there we go. What this is an adventure. The mom never comes back from her hot air balloon flight. Up in the stratosphere, just past the stratosphere, is supposedly a substance called aether, A-E-T-H-E-R. And it is supposed to be what the Dulacs have discovered, or feel they can discover, is a very powerful energy source that will help free up the world from using other energy sources. So this posits that in 1869 we went to the moon, not 1969. And so, of course, it's a little steampunky, which is always a good thing because I love steampunk. And it is full of palace intrigue, adventure, courageous children geniuses, evil adults, good adults. Nothing seems like a cliche in it, though. So it's very well and originally written. So what we've got in the first book is that the canister of her journals, Claire's, falls into Bavaria, and the king of Bavaria has summoned Seraphim, that's the son's name, and Professor Dulac is the father. He has summoned them to his castle in Bavaria. They immediately start running into trouble with the Prussians. The Prussians are the reigning power at this time, and the way the book portrays them, they are looking into be the dominant force, not only in the area, but in the world. So first the area, though. And the king of Bavaria wants to go to the moon using Claire's journals and having the professor and his son build the rocket using aether gas. They have to go up into the sky to capture it first. It's at like 15,000 feet, and this is back in the 1869s. So equipment is at the same as it's crude yet elegantly even cooler than what we've got today. So it's I don't want to, in each book there is a lot going on, and I don't want to get to the ending of each book because there are plot twists, story turnarounds, and cliffhangers all over the place. So I don't want to give away too much in this, but I will tell you who the main characters are. In here, you can see that Seraphim is in King Ludwig. King Ludwig of Bavaria. He's in his castle getting ready to try to build the rocket with his father. He has already run into Hans, who is like a 12-year-old beer guzzling, pretzel eating genius engineer. And here he runs into his half sister Sophie, and they are all on the king's side. And the king has a chamberlain, or I guess that would translate as a minister of advice. Your vice president, your consigliere in the mafia. It's his main man, and it turns out I'm not gonna. It's only, well, I don't want to ruin that surprise for you either. Anyway, he's there, and then the King of Prussia's there, who has world and then planetary ambitions. So they set about building this machine, this balloon, this spacecraft. Each of them has a different motivation. Seraphim wants to find his mom. Here's what the thing ends up looking like. After they go up in a hot air balloon, capture the aether in the atmosphere, and bring it back to propel this lighter than air substance that helps them fly to the moon. Now, you're going to have to work with me here. First of all, that aether even exists. You're going to have to give in to your suspension of disbelief. When they get to the moon has a breathable surface. All the planets they visit have a breathable surface. That's really all you have to give into as sort of a suspend your disbelief, because otherwise the people act the way people act. Some are good, some are bad, and it's not too high a price to just assume that you can breathe air on the moon. Just go with it. It's okay. You're not going to hurt anybody thinking that in 1869 you could breathe air on the moon. So it's not like it's not going to be on a test. So anyway, here's what it looks like. And this book ends with they're trying to launch to get to the moon. People are trying to depose King Ludwig of Bavaria as insane because they want his land. He just wants to go to the moon, not certain what the king's looking for. Professor Dulac just wants to prove that it's possible, while, as I said, Seraphim's looking for his mom. And it ends on the most cliffhangery of the cliffhangers I've cliffhanged on. It was just like, where's the next page? What are you talking about? And my friend from Canada who introduced this to me, Matthew Dubé, he speaks French, so he gets it early. It only gets published once a year. He's already on volume 5. We English speakers are only on volume 4, and it only comes out once a year in September. So far, there are 4 volumes. So you don't have to go through the pain I did of 3 years ago getting stuck on this ridiculous cliffhanger. You can go right to book 2. And all these books, by the way, are not out of print. They are in print and they're available on Amazon. And you can also check wherever you want, but I made sure that they were all in print before I made this video. Which brings us to book 2, Castle in the Stars, The Moon King. I don't want to go in depth into each book because there's so much rich, interesting stuff in there for you to discover yourself, and I don't want to ruin any. I don't want to ruin anything. I want to tell you why it's so great and why you need to read it, and showing you the art and telling you that the story is fantastic is part of the deal. This has them actually going to the moon and finding and experiencing interesting things on the moon. And by they, I mean the professor, all and the kids and the king. So this book deals with their adventures on the moon, what the king discovers in caves there on the moon, and then the king disappears, and the books become about where's the king. So I don't want to get too deep into this. They call themselves the Knights of Aether, and they get into all kinds of trouble on their own. They don't even have anybody sabotaging them. They just get into natural trouble. I mean, you would too if you flew an Aether-enforced aircraft to the moon. But it is really well told, and each character gets enough time devoted to him or her as it goes. I'm sure I botched up the English language there for some reason. But you learn to care about each character a lot through the 4 books. And you learn to care about what it is the king of Prussia not only wants to conquer Earth, he wants to be like the king of the solar system through use of this aether. He wants to go to the moon. Then next he wants to he goes to Mars. The Knights on Mars is the 3rd volume. This is where they go to Mars. This book, number 3, is different than the other 1, 2, and 4. This has got a lot of subplots to it, and it's not confusing, but you have to pay attention to everything because there are a lot of different things going on in this. I mean, because they're constantly, I mean, it is 1869, so of course they're constantly going to the moon and back and then relaunching into another space flight. So it's you do have to keep track of the various things that happen to each character and the story. The larger story is the King of Prussia, and then the smaller stories, trying to find Seraphine's mom, trying to capture and use Aether as an energy source. So this is the book with a lot of subplots, and it's very rewarding to get through and read them all. These are not big books. These are big. They're very skinny and can be read. Since there's so much dialogue going on in them to tell you what's going on, and you really want to look at the art, I would spend at least an hour on each book, carefully reading it and carefully looking at the art, since it's so gorgeous and it's so well written. You also have, this woman is the cousin to Ludwig. She is the Empress of Austria. Her country's already been swallowed up um, by Prussia. She just wants the king to be all right. The king is off on. I don't know when this series is going to end. I know for Volume 5, I got to wait till September of 2021 now. Um, it's okay. I can wait. What do I got going on? I'm still in lockdown for COVID, so but I would like to read something. But the king has, whatever the king's motivations are, we're not sure yet. Because he disappears on the moon, and where can you go on the moon? And so this book and book 4 address that a little bit. And they bring back in book 2 or 3, book 2, I guess, they bring back substance from the moon, like invisible ice and invisible things that prove to be not just neat discoveries, but the King of Prussia wants them to be used for warfare. So here they are on a flight to Mars. They pick up a couple of bad passengers because one of them, I won't tell you who it is, and you can't really see from here, is the only one that's going to be able to tell them where the King of Prussia's troops are. He's already sent his troops to Mars in vehicles to establish Prussia Incorporated there, because Seraphin's dad, the main character's dad, decided that it was too valuable, the properties of Aether and how to make space travel and cheap air travel on Earth, it was too valuable to stay in one hand, so he broadcasted, dropped leaflets, and let every country have it. Instead of letting Prussia end up with it, everybody knows how to do it now. Which, when you think about it, was pretty smart, because now Prussia can't just push its weight around, but they are the first ones to go to Mars with soldiers. But on Earth, everybody's got the formula, and they're trying to figure. First, they have to be able to get the Aether from the atmosphere, and then they have to figure out how to use it according to Professor Dulac's instructions. So this book's all about the trip to Mars, what happens when they get there to Mars with its breathable atmosphere, how the 3 kids really feel like they can only trust each other. That's Hans, the pretzel eater, Seraphin, the son, and Sophie, the king's maid. They are like the Knights of Aether, and they're the ones who stick together and pretty much make these machines go. So, along with the professor. But, okay, I definitely don't want to show you that because it is part of the last, cliffhanger for book 3. But here you go. Here's some more of that beautiful art. And book 4, which just came out, I just got it, is called A Frenchman on Mars. So why don't I read you the back of it, and while I show you, oh God, this art is just so gorgeous. Let me see if I can put this art up right. As Seraphin, Hans, and Sophie make their descent onto the Mars surface with stowaway, I don't want to tell you who they are, stowaways blah 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 in tow, they're prepared for danger. But with its gravity-defying rain and giant carnivorous beasts, Mars is even more treacherous than they expected. When Seraphin suddenly finds himself separated from his friends and alone in the Martian wilderness, he must trust a mysterious, shape-shifting creature to guide him back to safety. But this creature has an agenda of their own. this creature turns out to be a native Martian. Seraphin does find himself, he wasn't sure if his friends had left Mars or they just left him there. He got separated from them, and he runs into a wounded person. A lot of them on Mars, the air has properties that make them hallucinate, and he keeps thinking he's hallucinating with this person who I'll just call a Martian because I don't want to ruin it. But so he befriends as best he can. There's there's a problem with speaking, and they travel on these. Let's see if I can get a good picture because they're really cool. Yeah, these like interplanetary highways. Look at that. It's like suspended way in the air, and there's their little vehicle, and that's how they go around using Mars's interstate highway system. So he feels like the Martian needs help, wants to get her to her home city, and she is unconscious for most of the time, but it turns out she's using her unconsciousness to tap into his brain and learn his language. And they end up discussing rudimentary things with each other. They discuss things on a basic level, but it turns out that Mars's population has a bit of an equality problem, with some of the Martians being treated more equal than some of the other Martians, which doesn't sit well with some of them, the ones that are not being treated well. This all, of course, is not done heavy-handed at all. It's done with a very light touch. There's still the King of Prussia's agents all around that Seraphin's trying to fend off and make it so they can get back to Earth and tell the Earthlings what the King of Prussia's up to, what his agents are up to, what things are like out on Mars. Every time they keep going back to Earth, their lives are threatened, and so they got to get off planet. It all makes sense in the books. Honest, it does. So this is probably the last picture I want to show you, because if I show you any more, it could give away the cliffhanger ending for book 4, which means book 5 is a year from now, in September of 2021. Let me tell you, I don't need to tell you, 2020, not my best year. Not the best year for anybody, probably. For me in particular, I've had a rough 2020. This book coming in September made my year better. That's how good of a book it is, because it also helped tie everything else together. The characters are great and fun and interesting and adventurous. And if you're old enough to know who Jules Verne is, it'll remind you a little bit of Jules Verne. If you're not old enough, and you're probably not old enough to know who Jules Verne was, he was a revolutionary fantasy science fiction writer in the 1800s, late 1800s, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and things like that. This definitely has a Jules Verne feeling to it, but there's a lot of emotion and heart and feeling in these books. The author, illustrator, I feel like this must be a life's real passion for him, because it really comes through in the books how much he cares about the characters, and how much he cares about their journey. Once again, it does not lecture you at all. It does not lecture you at all. You can take away from it what you want. You can take away 0 from it. You can take away a lot from it, but it doesn't lecture you about man being inherently evil or anything. There's nothing like that. Because the kids are good and they're trying to work things out and find loved ones and help various people. So the kids in this are great. Some of the grown-ups suck, but that's been true of any book I've ever read since I was 7 years old, starting with Pippi Longstocking. So I urge you, they're not expensive, $20 a piece. Maybe you can get them online at some place like In Stock Trades. I don't know if In Stock Trades has 1 through 3. Maybe in the next few weeks they'll have 4. I couldn't wait, so I pre-ordered it on Amazon. This will be the best $20 you spend if you get all 4 books. I know that's $80. It's by First Second Books, so it's possible it's on Hoopla. It's cool with me if you read it on Hoopla. Rent it from your library, borrow it from a friend. I don't care. Get it. Read it. Have fun. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to have fun and experience the beauty of the comics medium. It is fun to be a comics fan, and it is, even though this year's been crappy, there's still been a ton of good comics released. And it's my job to help you guys find the most fun and interesting comics. And I hope I helped you do it right here. So check out Castle in the Stars. A Frenchman on Mars is the name of number 4. Books 1, 2, 3, 4. Please read them. And please give my video a like. Please subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. And since this is a translated from French book, it's possible that I misread some things. And if I misread some things, just be nice when you correct me. I don't mind being corrected. Just be nice about it. But I think I got the gist of it. So please read these books. They're so good. And peace and love, peace and love. Thank you for watching.